Imagine a serene day on the ocean turning into a nightmare as nature's deadliest predators attack. This gripping video unveils 6 chilling shark attack stories that will leave you speechless. A great white shark devours a mother of 5 before her children's eyes in South Africa. A teen surfing prodigy loses her leg to a bull shark in Australia, and a charity swimmer is ambushed by a tiger shark in the Florida Strait. Newlyweds face terror during a dive in the Maldives. Join us as these harrowing encounters unfold. On a sunny day in February 2018, Clara Davids, 36, arrived at Port St. John's Beach in South Africa with her 5 children. Clara was a devoted mother who loved spending time with her family. Having recently moved to the area, she often brought her children to the beach to enjoy the warm waters of the Indian Ocean. Her eldest son, Michael, was 12, a quiet and responsible boy who often helped his mother care for his younger siblings. Sarah, 9, was lively and full of questions, while twins Anna and Amelia, both 6, shared an unbreakable bond. Their youngest, Ethan, was only 4, still curious about the world and clinging closely to his mother. The family arrived early that morning, hoping to make the most of the beautiful weather. Clara had packed a picnic and was thrilled to see her children playing on the sand. She loved watching their joy as they built sandcastles and splashed in the shallow waves. As the day grew warmer, Clara decided to take a swim, leaving Michael in charge of watching the younger ones. She assured them she wouldn't go far. Port St. John's Beach was known for its picturesque scenery, but also carried a dark reputation for being a hotspot for shark activity. Despite warnings, many locals and visitors continued to swim in the inviting waters. Confident in her swimming abilities, Clara waded in and began to swim further out, relishing the cool, refreshing water. As she reached a point approximately 20 meters from shore, the scene's serenity was shattered. Without warning, a great white shark emerged from the depths, targeting Clara with incredible speed and force. The predator's powerful jaws clamped down, dragging her beneath the surface. Clara's desperate screams echoed across the beach, jolting her children from their play. They turned toward the water, their eyes wide with terror, as they saw their mother struggling. Beachgoers nearby rushed to the shoreline, shouting and gesturing to scare off the shark. The water churned violently as Clara's fight continued. The shark, driven by instinct, pulled her under again and again. Her children screamed from the shore, frozen in fear and unable to comprehend the horror unfolding before them. As the water settled, a chilling silence enveloped the area. Beachgoers continued to scan the waves, hoping for any sign of Clara. Tragically, there was none. Moments later, pieces of her torn swimsuit floated to the surface, confirming the unthinkable. The shark fatally attacked Clara, and her body was lost to the depths. The crowd, paralyzed by shock, could only comfort her children, who stood motionless on the sand. The scene at Port St. John's Beach remained etched in the minds of those who had witnessed the tragedy. Clara's children were inconsolable, their cries echoing across the shoreline as local authorities worked to bring them to safety. Volunteers and lifeguards attempted to console the 5 siblings who clung to each other in fear and disbelief. Beachgoers silently gathered, shaken by the grim reminder of the ocean's dangers. The tragedy devastated everyone present. Clara's children were taken into the care of local authorities, while the news of the attack quickly spread through the community. The once idyllic beach was now a site of unimaginable loss, leaving the entire town grappling with the dangers posed by the ocean's predators. As word of the attack spread, a search effort began. Boats and divers scanned the waters, hoping to locate Clara's body for her family's closure. Despite their best efforts, the search yielded nothing more than fragments of her swimsuit, which were returned to her grieving relatives. The family's devastation deepened as they faced the harsh reality that Clara would never return. Despite his anguish, Clara's eldest son, Michael, became an anchor for his siblings. The memory of his mother's final moments haunted him. Each night, vivid nightmares replayed the attack, leaving him trembling in the dark. His younger siblings, too young to fully grasp the situation, often turned to him for comfort. The weight of their shared loss bore heavily on him, forcing him to mature far beyond his years. Local authorities and wildlife experts began investigating the incident. Port St. John's Beach had long been a site of frequent shark activity, with its warm waters drawing both swimmers and predators. Experts noted that the area lacked adequate safety measures, such as shark nets or monitoring programs, despite its dangerous reputation. The attack reignited debates about whether more should be done to protect visitors, while balancing the preservation of marine ecosystems. The community rallied around the Davids family, offering support in every possible way. Fundraisers were organized to help with the children's immediate needs, and neighbors volunteered to assist with childcare. The tragedy spurred discussions on educating beachgoers about wildlife awareness and improving safety protocols. Signs warning of potential dangers were installed at various points along the shore, urging swimmers to stay vigilant. Clara's legacy became one of resilience and love. Friends and family spoke of her dedication to her children and her passion for creating cherished memories. Her absence left an irreplaceable void, but her story inspired many to view the ocean with greater respect. The Davids children gradually adjusted to their new reality, though the scars of that day would remain with them forever. Michael, in particular, found solace in speaking about his experience, hoping to prevent similar tragedies. As he grew older, he advocated for ocean safety, urging others to learn about the dangers of swimming in areas with active predators. Port St. John's Beach continued to draw visitors, but the attack left an indelible mark on the community. Clara's story served as a sad reminder of the balance between humans and nature and the need to approach the wild with awe and caution. The Davids family carried her memory with them, a testament to her strength and the enduring love for her children. On March 15, 2024, the sun blazed over the azure waters of Gold Coast, Australia, as 16-year-old Emma Johnson prepared for the most critical moment of her life. Born and raised in this vibrant coastal city, Emma grew up watching surfers carve through waves with grace and determination. Emma's passion for the sport began early when she was inspired by her father, a former competitive surfer. She spent years honing her skills, enduring countless hours in the water, and refining her technique. Emma's journey to the prestigious Gold Coast Surf Pro was extraordinary. Her natural talent and relentless drive earned her a spot in the competition where the world's top young surfers competed. Her family, including her parents and younger brother, cheered her on from the sandy shore. The media had also noticed, captivated by the story of a local girl with big dreams. As the competition progressed, Emma's confidence soared. She dominated the earlier rounds, wowing the judges with her flawless maneuvers. By the final heat, she was the favorite to win. Emma paddled out with the sun casting shimmering reflections on the ocean, ready to conquer the waves. Her heart raced with excitement and nervousness, but her focus remained unshaken. As she caught the perfect wave, the crowd erupted in applause. Emma glided effortlessly, her movements precise and powerful. The wave reflected her passion, carrying her toward the crest of glory. Then, without warning, the tranquility shattered. A dorsal fin sliced through the surface just meters away from Emma. Before she could react, the bull shark lunged. Its powerful jaws clamped down on her leg, pulling her underwater. The crashing waves drowned out her scream, but the sight sent shockwaves through the crowd. Rescue teams sprang into action, racing toward the scene on jet skis. Emma struggled, her adrenaline pushing her to fight against the predator's grip. The water churned violently as the shark released her and vanished. Blood stained the sea around her as lifeguards pulled her onto a rescue board. By the time they reached the shore, the extent of her injury was evident. Emma's leg had been severely bitten and her life now hung in the balance. Paramedics rushed her to the hospital as her family followed, their faces etched with terror and disbelief. The beach fell silent. The once lively crowd grappled with the horrifying incident. Emma's dream of professional surfing, her bright future, now faced an uncertain and heartbreaking turn. Emma was rushed into surgery upon arriving at the hospital. The shark bite had caused extensive damage to her lower leg, and doctors were left with no choice but to amputate just below the knee. Losing her leg marked the end of her professional surfing aspirations. For Emma, the pain was more than physical. The sudden shift from being on the brink of success to facing such a life-changing injury was overwhelming. The days that followed were filled with challenges. Emma's family stayed by her side, offering unwavering support as she adjusted to her new reality. Her father, who understood her profound connection with the ocean, struggled to see his daughter's dreams crushed. Her younger brother, once her biggest cheerleader, became her constant companion, ensuring she never felt alone in her recovery. Emma's story quickly spread, drawing national and even international attention. The media painted her as both a victim and a survivor, sparking debates about shark attacks and ocean safety measures. While some demanded tighter controls on shark populations near popular beaches, others advocated coexistence, emphasizing that humans were encroaching on marine habitats. Emma was at the center of a discussion she was still trying to process. Her recovery was not easy. Physical therapy sessions were grueling, testing her patience and resilience. There were moments of frustration when she doubted her ability to adapt, yet she also began to uncover a strength she never realized she had. Emma focused on rebuilding her life, determined not to let the attack define her future. Months later, Emma attended her first public event since the incident. Surrounded by friends, family, and the media, she spoke about the importance of understanding and respecting the ocean. Despite the personal tragedy she had endured, she advocated for shark conservation, emphasizing that her attack was not an act of malice, but a natural predator responding to its instincts. Her words carried weight, inspiring others to view the ocean with awe and caution. Emma also began mentoring young surfers, sharing her knowledge and experiences to help them appreciate the beauty and risks of the sport. Although she could no longer compete, she enjoyed watching others pursue their dreams. Her work extended beyond the surfing community as she partnered with marine conservation groups, using her platform to educate the public about sharks' vital role in the ecosystem. Over time, Emma found a sense of purpose that went beyond surfing. Her journey became one of resilience, transformation, and advocacy. While she would always carry the scars of that day, both visible and unseen, they served as a reminder of her strength. Her family remained her greatest support, proud of how she turned adversity into an opportunity to make a difference. The beach where her dreams once flourished now stood as a symbol of both loss and growth. Emma's story inspired many, proving that finding meaning and building a new path forward, even in the face of tragedy, is possible. On July 10, 2024, Jason Torres, a 38-year-old philanthropist from Miami, stood at the edge of the Florida coast. Known for his tireless efforts to support cancer research, Jason was more than just a philanthropist. He was a beacon of hope for many. A former collegiate swimmer with a deep passion for the ocean, Jason had spent months training for his ambitious challenge, a 26-mile swim across the Florida Straits. The event aimed to raise funds for innovative cancer treatments, with hundreds of donors pledging their support. The day had been carefully planned, with Jason's support boat carrying supplies and a team of experts to monitor his progress. As the early morning sun rose over the calm waters, he dove into the ocean with determination. The warm Gulf Stream pushed gently against him, and the rhythmic sound of his strokes echoed through the vast open sea. Jason's thoughts centered on his cause, envisioning the lives he hoped to impact through his efforts. The first few miles were smooth, with Jason maintaining a steady pace. His team cheered him on from the boat, offering hydration and encouragement at regular intervals. Dolphins briefly joined him, playfully leaping through the waves, boosting his morale. However, as Jason crossed the midpoint of his journey, the waters grew eerily quiet. Unbeknownst to Jason, a tiger shark had been drawn to the commotion of the swim. The predator moved stealthily through the depths, its streamlined body blending seamlessly with the shadows below. Jason's focus remained on the horizon, unaware of the danger approaching. The shark surged upward without warning, its powerful jaws clamping onto Jason's leg. The sharp pain was immediate and overwhelming, forcing him to cry out. His support team, alerted by his screams, rushed into action. The crew threw flotation devices into the water, while one team member reached out to pull Jason closer to the boat. Jason thrashed in the water, trying to break free. Blood clouded the clear blue sea, heightening the urgency of the rescue. The shark's grip loosened momentarily, allowing Jason's team to haul him aboard. Jason suffered deep lacerations to his leg, the wounds bleeding profusely. The crew applied pressure to the injuries, working quickly to stabilize him. Jason drifted in and out of consciousness as the boat sped toward the nearest shore. The once inspiring swim had turned into a fight for survival. Though his physical pain was excruciating, his emotional turmoil was equally profound. Jason's dreams of completing the challenge were shattered, leaving him questioning the cost of his ambition. The support boat finally reached land, where an ambulance was waiting to rush Jason to the hospital. His team remained by his side, their earlier cheers replaced by silent prayers for his recovery. Meanwhile, news of the attack spread rapidly, capturing the attention of both the local community and the global media. Jason's journey started as a testament to his unwavering commitment to making a difference. It is a stark reminder of the unpredictable dangers of open water swimming. The next chapter of his story will center on his resilience, determination, and ability to transform personal tragedy into a powerful message for change. Jason was rushed into the emergency room, where a team of doctors worked tirelessly to address the damage caused by the tiger shark. His leg bore deep lacerations, and he had lost a significant amount of blood. Though his life was saved, the road to recovery was long and uncertain. The physical wounds required multiple surgeries, and the psychological scars ran even deeper. Lying in a hospital bed, Jason felt a wave of emotions overwhelm him. Guilt was among the strongest as he replayed the harrowing attack in his mind. He worried about the supporters who had placed their faith in him. His ambitious swim had been cut short, and he feared letting down the people who had rallied around his cause. The once clear vision of completing the swim and inspiring others seemed distant and unattainable. Days turned into weeks as Jason faced the challenges of rehabilitation. Physical therapy sessions were grueling, requiring him to relearn basic movements. His injured leg, though saved, bore permanent damage, leaving him with a noticeable limp. Each step reminded him of the attack and the dream he had been forced to abandon. Despite the support of his medical team and loved ones, the emotional burden grew heavier. Jason's story began to spread, drawing media attention worldwide. His journey symbolized survival and resilience, with many expressing admiration for his courage. Donations for his cancer research initiative were poured in, surpassing the original goal. However, Jason found it difficult to accept the praise. He felt the funds had been raised through his failure rather than his success, and the public attention added to his internal struggle. Eventually, Jason began to focus on what he could still achieve. He realized that his experience, while painful, could serve as a powerful message for others. He started speaking openly about the dangers of open water sports, advocating for better safety measures. Jason worked with local organizations to develop guidelines for swimmers, including mandatory support crew training and advanced shark deterrent technology. Through his advocacy, Jason discovered a new purpose. He collaborated with marine biologists and conservationists to raise awareness about tiger sharks and their role in ocean ecosystems. Rather than fostering fear, he sought to educate others on how to coexist with marine life while minimizing risks. Once a tale of tragedy, his story evolved into one of hope and inspiration. Months later, Jason returned to the Florida Strait, not to swim, but to stand on the shore where his journey had begun. He watched as a group of young swimmers practiced, equipped with the safety protocols he had helped establish. Though his swimming dream had ended, he knew his efforts had made a difference. Jason's experience was a reminder that life's unexpected turns can lead to greater purpose. While he could not complete the swim, he turned his setback into a rallying cry for awareness, safety, and respect for the ocean's unpredictable power. His legacy lived on in the lives he touched through his advocacy and his unwavering determination to turn adversity into action. On February 12, 2024, the Maldives' azure waters sparkled under a bright sun, welcoming Ryan and Sophie Wilson to the adventure of a lifetime. Newlyweds from Boston had chosen the Maldives for their honeymoon. Captivated by the promise of tranquility and marine beauty, both were young, full of life, and eager to explore the vibrant coral reefs. Sophie, a marine biology enthusiast, had always dreamed of diving in the Indian Ocean, while Ryan, an architect, was keen to share in her passion despite limited experience in diving. The couple arrived at a renowned diving center on Mafushi Island, excited to take their first plunge into the underwater world. Their guide, a local with basic certifications, assured them of a safe and unforgettable experience. The small diving group was briefed on procedures, but in their excitement, Ryan and Sophie barely noticed the lack of emphasis on potential dangers. The group set out on a modest boat, heading toward the coral reefs that fringe the deeper waters of the Indian Ocean. Equipped with scuba gear, the group descended into the turquoise sea, marveling at the marine life that thrived among the coral. Sophie's enthusiasm was contagious as she pointed out schools of fish and vibrant coral structures. She swam slightly ahead of the group, her love for the ocean leading her closer to the reef's edge. Ryan followed closely, ensuring he was never far from her side. Unbeknownst to the group, their inexperienced guide had led them too close to the deeper waters beyond the reef. The environment shifted subtly. The colors became darker, and the gentle swaying of coral gave way to the vast expanse of open ocean. The local marine life noticed the change in depth and territory. As Sophie ventured further, a reef shark emerged from the shadows. Initially curious, it circled the group slowly, observing their movements. Sophie remained calm, marveling at the sight, but the shark's behavior soon changed. It perceived the group's presence as a threat to its territory. The shark darted closer, its movements sharp and agitated. Before anyone could react, the shark lunged toward Sophie, its powerful jaws clamping onto her leg. Sophie screamed in agony as the shark's teeth tore through flesh, causing a rapid loss of blood. Frozen for a moment, Ryan was jolted into action by her cries. He swam toward her, desperately attempting to fend off the shark with his bare hands. The shark momentarily released Sophie but turned toward Ryan, swiping its tail violently. Ryan suffered minor injuries as the shark's tail struck his arm, leaving deep scratches. Despite his pain, Ryan grabbed Sophie's hand and tried to pull her away, but the blood in the water heightened the shark's aggression. The guide and other divers finally intervened, making noise and splashing water to distract the shark. The group managed to pull Sophie and Ryan toward the boat, but Sophie's injuries were severe. Blood pooled in the water as they lifted her limp body onto the ship, the once pristine honeymoon now a scene of chaos and despair. The boat sped toward the nearest island's medical facility, but the extensive blood loss left little hope. Sophie succumbed to her injuries before reaching the shore, leaving Ryan devastated. The vibrant coral reef Sophie had longed to see became the site of an unspeakable tragedy, marking the end of a journey that had begun with so much promise. The stage was set for a story of heartbreak, resilience, and reflection, as Ryan faced the aftermath of the tragedy, grappling with the loss of his wife and the events that had shattered their dream honeymoon. Back on the island, Ryan sat in stunned silence at the small medical facility where Sophie had been pronounced dead. Her body, covered with a sheet, rested in a nearby room. The honeymoon they had planned with such joy had become a nightmare he couldn't wake from. The vibrant island paradise now felt suffocating. Its beauty was a cruel reminder of all he had lost. The news of the attack spread quickly, and the media descended upon the island. Journalists and photographers swarmed the diving center and the hospital, eager for details. Ryan was overwhelmed by the questions and flashing cameras. Every inquiry about the incident felt like salt in an open wound, forcing him to relive the horrific moments. He avoided their gaze, his mind replaying the desperate struggle in the water, the sight of Sophie's blood staining the ocean, and the helplessness he felt as she slipped away. The guide who had led the dive approached Ryan, apologetic and visibly shaken. The diving center claimed responsibility for failing to ensure safety protocols, but their words rang hollow to Ryan. The reality was that no apology or compensation could bring Sophie back. The local authorities promised to investigate the incident, but Ryan knew it would not ease the pain he carried. In the days that followed, Ryan returned to Boston with Sophie's remains, accompanied by her grieving family. The homecoming was sad, filled with disbelief and sorrow. Friends and family gathered to honor Sophie's life, sharing memories of her warmth and passion. Her love for the ocean, which had brought her so much happiness, also took her life. Ryan, however, struggled to move forward. Sleepless nights were haunted by the sound of Sophie's screams and the image of the shark's attack. He couldn't shake the guilt that consumed him. He replayed every moment, wondering if there was more he could have done to save her. Though his physical wounds began to heal, the emotional scars ran far deeper. The media coverage of Sophie's death sparked a global conversation about safety in marine tourism. International pressure grew for stricter regulations to protect divers and ensure accountability from operators. Local businesses on the island faced criticism for prioritizing profit over safety, while marine conservation groups argued that the shark was acting on instinct, not malice. Despite his grief, Ryan found purpose in the wake of the tragedy. He decided to honor Sophie by channeling his pain into action. Partnering with marine conservation organizations, he began raising awareness about respecting wildlife and creating safer environments for underwater activities. He shared Sophie's story to educate others, hoping to prevent similar tragedies from happening again. The journey took work. Public speaking brought back painful memories, and facing the media meant confronting the same scrutiny that once overwhelmed him. Yet through his efforts, Ryan found a sense of healing. He began to feel that Sophie's death had not been in vain, as her story inspired change. Though Ryan would always carry the weight of loss, he transformed his pain into a legacy of hope. Sophie's love for the ocean lived through the lives he touched, ensuring that her memory became a force for good. On September 14, 2024, Luis Morales, a 52-year-old veteran fisherman, set out from the small coastal town of Puerto Angel in Oaxaca, Mexico. Luis had spent his entire life at sea, confidently and skillfully navigating the unpredictable Pacific waters. Known for his resilience, he had weathered countless storms and built a reputation for his sharp instincts. Fishing was not just a livelihood for Luis, but a tradition passed down through generations. His small, sturdy boat, El Solitario, was both his pride and his connection to the legacy of his ancestors. That morning, Luis prepared for what he anticipated to be a routine fishing trip. The skies were overcast, but showed no immediate signs of trouble. Armed with his nets and equipment, he aimed to catch a generous haul of yellowfin tuna, a fish in high demand among local buyers. Luis, ever meticulous, double-checked his supplies and made sure his boat was in working condition. He waved to his neighbors at the harbor, unaware that it might be the last time they would see him heading out. As the hours passed, the weather took an unexpected turn. Dark clouds rolled in from the horizon and the wind picked up speed, transforming gentle waves into formidable swells. Luis's instincts warned him to turn back, but he was already miles from shore, too far to outrun the approaching storm. He steered El Solitario as carefully as he could, fighting against the surging tide. The ocean was relentless, and the storm unleashed its fury. In a sudden, violent twist, a massive wave struck the side of the boat, tipping it sharply. Luis grabbed the edge, struggling to maintain balance, but the next wave was stronger. El Solitario capsized, throwing him into the churning waters. For a moment, Luis was disoriented, his world reduced to the deafening roar of the storm and the salt water stinging his eyes. As he surfaced, he clung desperately to a piece of broken wood from his boat, his only lifeline in the vast, unforgiving ocean. Hours passed as Luis drifted aimlessly, fighting exhaustion and the numbing cold. The storm eventually began to subside, leaving behind a restless sea. But his ordeal was far from over. Luis noticed movement in the water, a shadow beneath the surface. His heart sank as he recognized the unmistakable shapes of oceanic white-tip sharks circling him. These apex predators, known for their boldness, were drawn by the scent of his sweat and fear. The first attack came swiftly. A shark lunged toward Luis, brushing against his makeshift raft. He reacted instinctively, jabbing at the predator's snout using a splintered piece of boat debris as a weapon. The shark retreated, but others began to close in, encouraged by the struggle. Luis's survival instincts took over as he kicked furiously, thrashing the water to keep the sharks at bay. Each minute felt like an eternity. The sharks grew more aggressive, circling closer with each pass. Luis fought off multiple attempts using his spear to ward them away. His arms ached and his breath came in ragged gasps, but he refused to surrender. The sun began to set, casting an eerie orange glow over the waves. As Luis clung to the hope that someone would come to his rescue, the relentless battle between man and nature intensified as darkness fell, leaving Luis in danger. His strength was waning and the weight of the situation pressed heavily on him. However, The flicker of a distant light on the horizon gave him a glimmer of hope that this nightmare might yet have an end. As the faint light grew closer, Luis clung to the debris with every ounce of strength he had left. His arms felt like lead, his breathing shallow and labored. The sharks circled, their sleek forms cutting through the water with terrifying precision. Luis knew he had to keep moving, even as exhaustion threatened to overtake him. He used his makeshift spear to jab at the predators whenever they ventured too near. But his movements were slower now, his energy almost entirely drained. The light on the horizon grew brighter, and Luis realized it was the beacon of a large vessel. He mustered the last reserves of his strength, raising an arm and waving weakly to signal for help. His voice, hoarse from salt water and shouting, barely carried over the crashing waves, but he hoped that someone aboard would notice his desperate plight. Sensing his weakened state, the sharks became bolder, darting closer with each pass. Just as one of the sharks lunged toward him, the sharp blast of a ship's horn echoed across the water. The predator veered away, startled by the noise. Luis turned his head to see the massive hull of a cargo ship approaching. Relief flooded his body, though he was still far from safety. A crew member on the ship's deck spotted him and signaled to others. Within moments, a lifeboat was being lowered into the water. The rescue crew worked quickly, navigating through the turbulent waves toward Luis. He watched as the lifeboat approached, its engine cutting through the water with determined speed. The sharks, now cautious of the larger vessel, began to scatter. Luis felt his grip on the debris weakening, his body on the verge of collapse. When the lifeboat reached him, strong hands pulled him aboard and he collapsed onto the deck, trembling and gasping for air. Luis's ordeal was far from over. His body bore deep scratches and bruises from the hours spent battling the sea and its predators. The crew worked to stabilize him, wrapping him in blankets and administering water to hydrate his parched throat. As the cargo ship resumed its journey, Luis lay motionless, his mind replaying the terrifying events he had just survived. The ocean's vastness, the water's coldness, and the sharks' relentless pursuit haunted him. In the days that followed, Luis was transported to a hospital in a nearby coastal city. Doctors treated his injuries, which were severe but not life-threatening. However, the psychological scars were much deeper. Luis struggled to sleep, plagued by nightmares of the circling sharks and the overwhelming isolation of the sea. The financial burden of losing his boat weighed heavily on him, as El Solitario had been his sole source of income. Despite the trauma, Luis found a renewed sense of purpose. He began to share his story with local fishermen and communities, emphasizing the importance of safety at sea. He advocated for improved communication systems and better emergency preparedness for those who ventured into the ocean. Luis also developed a complicated relationship with the sea, fearing its unpredictability and respecting its power. His survival became a source of inspiration for many, a testament to human resilience and determination. Although the memory of his ordeal would never fade, Luis chose to channel his experience into ensuring that others could learn from his near-fatal encounter. The ocean remained a central part of his life, but it was now accompanied by a profound understanding of its dangers and the fragile balance between man and nature. On October 4, 2024, the annual Catalina Island Triathlon was underway. The event, known for its challenging swim, bike, and run segments, attracted athletes worldwide. Among the participants was 28-year-old James Parker, a seasoned triathlete known for loving open-water swimming. He was in peak physical condition and had trained for months, prepared to push his limits in the beautiful but sometimes unpredictable waters off Catalina Island in California. James was always passionate about outdoor sports and loved the challenge of competing in races that tested his endurance and strength. He had been with Sarah for 3 years and planned to get married later that year. Sarah, supportive and proud of his achievements, cheered him on from the sidelines during every race. They shared a deep love for adventure and enjoyed participating in activities that connected them to nature, whether hiking, swimming, or cycling. The Catalina Island Triathlon was a race James had competed in several times before, and he was familiar with the ocean's sometimes dangerous waters. The swim leg of the race started early in the morning, with hundreds of athletes diving into the cool ocean waters. each striving to complete the 1.5-mile swim before transitioning to the biking section. The water was choppy, but James was comfortable, easily gliding through the surf. His confidence in the water was a significant advantage, as he had grown up swimming in the ocean, frequently taking trips with Sarah to the coast. However, midway through the swim, the unexpected happened. As James swam through the waves, his movements became more frantic, indicating that something had startled him. Unbeknownst to him, a mako shark, attracted by the thrashing of swimmers, had spotted James and was closing in. The shark, which can be fast and aggressive, attacked without warning, biting James in his leg. The pain was instant and intense. James tried to push himself to the surface, but the shark clamped down again, delivering a fatal bite before retreating into the depths. As chaos erupted in the water, other triathletes and rescue teams quickly noticed the emergency. Lifeguards on jet skis raced toward James, pulling him out of the water as soon as possible. His leg was severely mangled, and despite their best efforts, it was too late to save him. James was pulled aboard a rescue boat, but the damage caused by the shark's attack was too severe, and he succumbed to his injuries before he could be brought to shore. Sarah, who had been waiting at the finish line, anxiously watched as the news spread through the crowd. When she learned of the tragic events, her world shattered. Her fiancé, who had been full of life and passion, was gone. The grief that overwhelmed her was unbearable, and she struggled to understand how a day that was supposed to celebrate James's dedication to fitness had turned into a nightmare. The attack became a topic of national conversation, raising questions about the safety measures in place for triathlons held in open waters. Many of James's friends and fellow competitors started to wonder if the event organizers had taken enough precautions. Sarah, too, found herself at the center of a moral dilemma. Should she speak publicly about the lack of safety measures and the failure to protect her fiancé? Or should she respect James's adventurous spirit, which had always embraced the risks of nature? The decision weighed heavily on her as she tried to come to terms with the loss of the man she had planned to spend the rest of her life with. The tragedy of James's death raised important conversations about safety for athletes who engage in sports involving wildlife and unpredictable environments. It also ignited discussions on the role of event organizers in protecting their participants. For Sarah, the pain was immense, but so was the love she felt for James's memory. Despite the intense sorrow, she resolved to carry his legacy forward, advocating for greater safety and awareness of wildlife conservation in open water sports. In the days following James's tragic death, Sarah found herself struggling to cope with the overwhelming grief. The shock of losing James in such a sudden and violent way left her with a deep sense of emptiness. Their plans, dreams, and their future together had been shattered. What should have been a joyous occasion turned into an unimaginable nightmare. The media quickly picked up on the story, and soon the incident was all over the news. The tragedy became a hot topic, with people discussing the dangers of open water sports and the risks involved in such events. Some blamed the organizers for not taking enough precautions, while others focused on nature's unpredictability and the dangers of venturing into the ocean. Sarah struggled with the attention. While she understood the need for the story to be shared, the constant media coverage was difficult for her to handle. She felt as though her grief had become part of a larger narrative, something that no longer felt just hers. She had lost the love of her life, and now she was constantly reminded of that loss by reporters and the public. However, despite the pressure, Sarah began to think about the bigger picture. She realized that James had always been passionate about conservation and understanding wildlife. His adventurous spirit had embraced the risks of exploring the natural world, and she knew she had to find a way to honor his legacy. As time passed, Sarah shifted her focus from her grief to advocacy. She decided to speak out about the incident to raise awareness about the dangers of open water sports and call attention to the need for better safety measures in events like the triathlon. She wanted to ensure that what had happened to James would lead to change, preventing future tragedies. Sarah also began to talk about the importance of shark conservation. While she had experienced firsthand the devastating effects of a shark attack, she understood that these creatures were not to blame for what happened. Like all wildlife, sharks played a vital role in the ecosystem, and she wanted to help educate others about their importance. She felt that James would have supported this cause, and that it was the right way to honor his memory. In the months that followed, Sarah's efforts grew stronger. She worked with environmental groups, pushing for better safety protocols for athletes in open water events, and increased awareness of sharks and their role in the ocean. She knew it would be a long journey, but she felt a sense of purpose in continuing James's work. Through her efforts, she hoped to prevent other families from experiencing the same heartbreak and loss she had endured. While the pain of losing James never fully disappeared, Sarah found some comfort in the work she was doing. She knew she was turning her grief into something meaningful, creating a lasting impact that would help protect people and wildlife. As she moved forward, she carried with her the love and the spirit of the man she had lost, using it to fuel her passion for change.